Princess Alara sat by the tall window of the palace, staring at the twin suns as they sank behind the crystal mountains. Her kingdom, Leora, was peaceful. The people lived in harmony with the stars above and the forest below. Yet, despite the calm, she felt a strange unease. It had started with a dream. For 3 nights in a row, she had seen a figure standing in a silver light. The figure was human, with soft brown hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. He spoke, but the words were always just out of reach. In her dream, the figure raised his hand, pointing toward the horizon, warning her of something terrible. When she woke, her heart raced, but she never understood what the warning meant. Today, the dream came back stronger. In the sunlight streaming through the window, she closed her eyes and saw the same figure. His voice echoed in her mind. "The shadow is coming. Prepare. Trust no one who smiles too easily." Alara shivered. No one had ever spoken like that to her before, not even her advisors. She had always listened to them, they were wise and careful. But this warning felt different. It felt alive, Your Highness. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Lyra, her handmaid. She bowed slightly, her eyes full of concern. "You look troubled. Is everything all right?" Alara forced a smile. "I had another dream, Lyra. It felt important." Lyra's eyes widened. "A dream?" She hesitated. "Your dreams are always full of visions. Should I call the advisors?" "No," Alara said quickly. "Not yet. I need to understand it myself." She looked toward the horizon where the sky glimmered in shades of gold and violet. Something deep inside her stirred, a feeling of urgency she could not ignore. The princess walked through the palace halls, her fingers brushing against the smooth walls. She passed tapestries that told the stories of her ancestors, heroes who had defended the kingdom from threats far beyond imagination. She had always admired them, but today, she wondered if she could live up to their courage. In the council room, the advisors gathered as usual. Elder Malin, a tall man with silver hair and a calm voice, looked up as she entered. "Princess Alara," he said, "is everything well?" She hesitated, then spoke. "I have seen something in my dreams. A warning. I do not fully understand it, but I feel it is important." The room fell silent. Dreams were considered signs, but rarely did anyone act on them without proof. "Princess, are you sure this is not merely imagination?" asked Lord Brayson, the military advisor. "We cannot base decisions on dreams alone. Our kingdom thrives on reason and strategy." Alara took a deep breath. "I know, but sometimes reason alone is not enough. I need to prepare, just in case." Malin nodded slowly. "We will follow your command, Princess. But tell us more. What exactly did you see?" Alara closed her eyes and described the figure, the silver light and the shadow moving across the horizon. She explained the warning words as much as she could remember. The advisors exchanged glances, uncertain. "The shadow?" Brayson said. "A shadow can mean many things. A storm, a rebellion, perhaps an enemy fleet approaching." "No," Alara said firmly. "It is not just a storm or a fleet. I cannot explain it, but it feels like something much greater, something dangerous." Malin studied her carefully. "Your instincts are strong, Princess. We will prepare quietly without causing panic. Let us gather information. Perhaps there is a clue in the stars or in the reports from the border." Alara felt a small relief. She was not alone in her concern. Someone believed her instincts. That evening, she climbed to the palace observatory. Through the massive glass dome, she gazed at the galaxy. Stars glittered like diamonds, planets shone in blue and green. She had studied the stars all her life, learning their patterns and secrets. Tonight, she searched for anything unusual. An anomaly, a moving shadow, anything that could match her vision. Hours passed. The twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light across the observatory floor. Alara's eyes grew heavy, but she refused to leave. Then she saw it, a small flicker, almost invisible, moving among the stars. A dark shape, swift and deliberate. Her heart skipped a beat. The shadow. It was real. She raced down to the council room, her robes flowing behind her. "I see it," she cried. "The shadow is coming." The advisors gathered, following her to the observatory. Brayson peered through the telescope. His eyes widened. "By the stars. That is no natural phenomenon. It moves with purpose. Princess, your vision, it was true." Alara felt a mix of fear and relief. The dream had been a warning, and now it was happening. But why? And what did it mean for the kingdom? Before anyone could answer, the palace alarm rang. Red lights flashed and the gates were sealed. Citizens in the streets looked up in fear as a strange object descended from the sky. It was not like any ship they had seen before, sleek, silver, and glowing faintly. From the ship, a figure emerged. Ilara's heart raced. She knew him before she saw his face. The human from her dreams, tall, brown-haired, with eyes that seemed to pierce the soul, stood at the landing platform. "I am called Kale," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "I come with a warning. Your kingdom is in danger, and only by trusting me can you survive what is coming." The advisors murmured among themselves. Who was this human? How did he appear in the palace without permission? And could they trust him? Ilara stepped forward. I have dreamed of you," she admitted. "I know your warning is real. We must act quickly," Kyle nodded. "Then we have no time to lose. The anomaly approaches and it will test your kingdom's strength, your people's courage, and your wisdom." Brayson frowned. "An anomaly? What kind of danger is this? Is it a ship, a weapon, or something else?" Kale's eyes met Ilara's. "It is beyond any weapon you know. It is a shadow moving through space, consuming everything in its path. Planets, moons, even stars are not safe. Your dream warned you because you have the courage to act when others might fail." The council fell silent. Fear and awe filled the room. Ilara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The fate of the kingdom, perhaps the galaxy, rested on her decisions. That night, as the palace slept, Ilara walked alone in the gardens. The wind whispered through the crystal trees. She thought of her people, the humans, the stars, and the dream. She knew she could not face the coming darkness alone. She would need allies, courage, and the wisdom of the past, and she would trust the warning. For the first time, Princess Ilara realized something profound. Dreams were not always fantasies. Sometimes they were messages that required action, bravery, and belief in what seemed impossible. Above her, the twin moons glowed softly. In their light, she saw a vision of the future, a future where humans and her people stood together against the shadow. She did not know how it would happen, but she felt hope that together they could face what was coming. Ilara returned to her chambers, determination burning in her heart. She would prepare, she would learn, and she would lead. Whatever the shadow brought, the princess would not cower. She would meet it with courage. And in her dreams that night, Kale smiled at her once more, raising his hand in warning and in trust. The sun rose over the crystal mountains, bathing the kingdom of Leora in gold and silver light. Princess Ilara stood at the balcony of her chamber, looking out at the distant horizon. The strange ship that had arrived the previous night still hovered over the palace courtyard, gleaming in the sunlight. Kyle, the human from her dreams, moved across the landing platform with calm precision. Soldiers watched him warily, unsure if he was friend or foe. Ilara's heart beat fast. She had trusted her instincts, and now her dream had brought someone real, someone who could help her face the shadow that was coming. Lyra appeared at her side. "Your Highness, the council waits for you. They want to discuss the human and the warning." Ilara nodded. She took a deep breath. This was no time to hesitate. Her people's safety depended on her courage and her decisions. The council chamber buzzed with tension. Elder Malin, Lord Brayson, and other advisors were seated, whispering among themselves. Kale stood near the entrance, his posture straight and confident, as if he belonged in this room despite being a stranger. "Princess," Malin began, "the council has considered your dreams and the arrival of this human. We do not fully understand the danger, but we trust your judgment. Explain what you believe is happening." Ilara turned to Kyle. "He warned me," she said simply. "In my dreams, he spoke of a shadow that moves across the stars, destroying everything. I do not know what form it will take, but it is coming toward Leora." Kale stepped forward. "Your Highness, the anomaly is unlike anything your kingdom has faced. It moves through space with purpose, consuming planets and energy. It is not alive in the usual sense, but it reacts to power and matter. Your dream warned you because you have the courage to act when others might fail." Brayson frowned. "A shadow that reacts to energy. You mean it will attack our defenses, our cities, even our people?" "Yes," Kale said. "If it reaches your planet unchallenged, the consequences will be catastrophic. That is why I came. Humans have studied these anomalies. We know ways to predict their movement and even slow them down temporarily, but we cannot do it alone." Malin exchanged a glance with Brayson. "And you propose what? That we trust a stranger from another world?" Ilara raised her hand. I trust him because my dream told me to. And now I see that the warning is real. If we do nothing, our kingdom may not survive. A long silence filled the chamber. Then slowly the advisors nodded. They had always respected Alara's instincts, and now her conviction was impossible to ignore. Kyle unrolled a holographic map of the galaxy. Points of light marked planets, stars, and the anomaly's predicted path. He traced a line from the shadow toward Leora. It is fast, but not unpredictable. We can prepare defenses, evacuate civilians, and focus our energy shields where they will matter most. Brayson leaned over the map, studying the anomaly's course. Your plan will require precision and coordination. We will need our best engineers and soldiers working together. Can your humans provide the technology to help? Kyle nodded. I have devices that can detect and analyze energy fluctuations. They will allow us to anticipate the shadow's movements. But the key will be your people, your bravery, your teamwork, and your will to fight. That is what the anomaly cannot understand. Courage. Ilara felt a surge of hope. She had always believed that humans possessed a unique kind of courage, a willingness to face impossible odds. She had never imagined one would appear in her kingdom, but now she understood why her dreams had brought him here. The council agreed to follow Kale's plan. Engineers and soldiers were summoned, and the human devices were distributed throughout the kingdom. Civilians were informed of the need for caution, but panic was avoided thanks to Alara's calm leadership. As preparations began, Ilara walked through the palace halls, observing the activity. Soldiers tested the energy shields, engineers calibrated sensors, and civilians carried supplies to safe zones. The kingdom was alive with purpose, and Ilara felt a deep pride in her people. Later in the observatory, she met Kale alone. The twin moons shone through the glass dome, casting soft light across the floor. You are brave, Kyle said quietly. Most leaders would hesitate or ignore a warning from a dream. You acted immediately. Ilara smiled faintly. I had no choice. My people depend on me, and I feel like I am not alone. Your presence, it reassures me. Kyle nodded. We are stronger together, but you must also prepare for betrayal. Not everyone in your kingdom will welcome the truth. Fear can make people act against those who try to save them. Ilara's brow furrowed. Betrayal? Who could betray us? Sometimes those who fear change or doubt what they cannot see act against the ones trying to protect them, Kale explained. Watch closely. Trust your instincts. That night, as the kingdom slept, Ilara returned to her chambers. She could hear the hum of energy shields and the quiet footsteps of soldiers. She lay on her bed thinking of the anomaly and the warning. Her dreams returned stronger than before. The human figure appeared again, pointing toward the horizon, and the shadow moved closer. But this time he did not look worried. He looked determined. Prepare, his voice echoed. Act with courage. Protect what is yours. Ilara woke before dawn, her heart racing. She knew what she had to do next. She needed to see the anomaly for herself and understand its movements. She gathered a small group of advisors, engineers, and soldiers. Kale led them to the palace observatory. Through the massive telescope, they scanned the galaxy. There it was, the shadow. A dark streak among the stars, moving silently and deliberately. Energy from distant suns shimmered along its edges, and the light of planets it passed seemed to dim. Brayson swallowed hard. It is real, and it is massive. Kale studied the readings. It reacts to energy. That is why it avoids empty space. It seeks sources of power, cities, shields, even starships. That is why we must focus our defenses and control our energy output carefully. Too much or too little could attract it prematurely. Ilara listened carefully. Her mind raced with possibilities. Then we must prepare zones of false energy to distract it, while protecting the people and the most important structures. We cannot let it reach the heart of Leora. Kyle smiled faintly. Exactly. And your people will need to act bravely. Courage will matter more than any technology. The next days were filled with activity. Engineers worked with Kale to deploy energy sensors across the kingdom, while soldiers trained for rapid response. Civilians volunteered to assist, bringing food, medical supplies, and morale to the effort. Ilara moved among them, inspiring confidence and courage. She spoke to her people openly, without fear. We face a danger unlike any other, she said. But we will not cower. We will meet it together. Trust in each other and trust in your courage. For the first time, she truly felt the meaning of her dream. It was not only a warning, it was a call to action. Late one evening, Kyle and Alara stood at the edge of the palace gardens, looking at the distant shadow approaching through the stars. "Do you believe we can stop it?" Alara asked quietly. Kale's eyes were steady. "I believe humans and your people together can face anything. Courage, wisdom, and unity are the greatest weapons. The shadow cannot understand that, and that is why hope exists." Alara nodded. Hope settled in her heart. She knew the coming days would test her, the kingdom, and the alliance with Kyle. But she was ready to face it. And as the twin moons rose, casting silver light across the palace, a new sense of determination took hold. Princess Alara would protect her kingdom. She would trust her dreams, trust Kale, and trust the strength of humanity to face what was coming. The shadow was moving closer, but she was no longer afraid, because she had a warning and she had a plan, and most importantly, she had courage. The kingdom of Leora was alive with preparation. Soldiers moved in precise formations, engineers calibrated energy shields, and citizens carried supplies to safe zones. Yet despite the flurry of activity, Princess Alara felt a cold unease. Something in the air seemed wrong. Kale had been working tirelessly with the engineers, explaining the anomaly's behavior, its reactions to energy, and how to create false signals to mislead it. The humans' calm confidence reassured many, but not all. Some advisors whispered among themselves, questioning the wisdom of relying on a stranger. Alara walked through the palace halls, observing the activity. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Her dreams had warned her, but now the shadow was real, and she needed more than dreams. She needed strategy, courage, and allies. "Your Highness," Lyra called softly as Alara approached the observatory. "There is someone here to see you, a messenger from the border provinces." Alara followed her to the hall. A man in the uniform of the border guards bowed deeply. "Princess," he said, "reports have come in from the northern provinces. Strange energy readings, movement in the forests, something unnatural." Alara frowned. "Show me." The guard led her to a holographic map, displaying faint glows across the northern forests. The anomalies matched the patterns Kale had warned about. "The shadow reacts to energy," Kale explained, joining them. "Even minor disturbances can attract it. That is why we must control power carefully. But this is deliberate. Someone is manipulating the energy to draw the shadow closer." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Manipulating it? Who would do that?" Kale shook his head. "I do not know yet. But it is possible that not everyone in the kingdom supports the preparations. Fear can make people act against their own safety." Alara felt a chill. Could someone in her court betray her? Someone who feared change or doubted her visions? She could not ignore the possibility. That evening, during the council meeting, tensions rose. Lord Brayson voiced his concerns loudly. "Princess, are we sure we can trust this human? What if he misleads us? What if your dreams are misinterpreted?" Alara's voice was steady but firm. "I trust him because he has knowledge and experience we do not. My dreams were warnings. They led me to him. We cannot ignore either. We must act together, not let doubt divide us." A murmur ran through the council. Some advisors nodded, but others looked unconvinced. Elder Malin placed a hand on Brayson's shoulder. "Princess Alara's judgment has always served Leora well. We will follow her lead or risk failure," Kale added quietly. "Doubt is natural, but courage requires action despite doubt." The next morning, Alara and Kale visited the northern provinces. Villagers had gathered, anxious but trusting. Engineers and soldiers worked to stabilize energy flows, preventing the anomaly from being drawn closer. Alara spoke to the people, her voice carrying across the fields. "Citizens of Leora," she said, "we face a challenge unlike any before. But we will not stand idle. Together, with courage and wisdom, we can protect our homes and our families. Trust in each other and trust in your own strength." The villagers cheered. Even in the face of danger, the spirit of Leora remained strong. That night in the observatory, Kale analyzed data from sensors placed across the kingdom. "The shadow will reach Leora soon," he said, "but its path is influenced by energy sources. We can mislead it, but only if we act quickly." Alara leaned over the holographic display, studying the maps. "We need decoys," she said. "Create zones of controlled energy to confuse it. Protect the people in the cities, but make it think the kingdom is weaker than it is." Kale nodded. "Exactly. But we also need vigilance. Someone may try to sabotage these plans. We must watch for betrayal. Alara's heart sank. Could it be someone in the council? Someone in the palace? She resolved to be cautious but not let fear paralyze her. The next day, a trusted engineer discovered signs of tampering. Energy conduits in the northern provinces had been slightly altered, enough to attract the shadow. Alara's eyes widened. Sabotage, she whispered. Someone is trying to bring the shadow closer. Kale examined the conduits. Yes, but we can fix it quickly and we can trace who did this. The investigation revealed a shocking truth. A high-ranking court official, worried about the disruption of his influence, had attempted to interfere with the preparations. His fear had blinded him to the danger, and now the kingdom faced the consequences. Alara confronted the official in the council chamber. "Why would you risk the lives of our people?" she demanded. The official trembled. I feared change. I thought the dream was nonsense. I did not believe the human could help. I did not think it would come to this." Alara's eyes were cold but resolute. "Your fear endangered everyone. You will face justice, but for now help us protect the kingdom. If you do not, more lives will be lost." The man bowed his head, ashamed. He would assist under supervision, but Alara knew that courage must lead, and fear could not dominate. As the shadow drew closer, the kingdom's preparations intensified. Soldiers manned the energy shields, engineers adjusted power outputs, and civilians moved to safe zones. Kyle worked tirelessly, explaining human tactics and combining them with Leora's technology. Alara spent every moment with the team, learning, planning, and inspiring. She no longer relied only on dreams. She acted with wisdom, courage, and determination. Then one night, the shadow arrived in the sky. It was massive, darker than any night, stretching across the stars. Energy from the twin suns reflected on its edges, revealing its shape. A fluid, shifting mass moving with intent. Alara stood on the palace balcony, Kale by her side. "It is here," she whispered. "Yes," Kale said. "And now courage will matter more than anything else." They activated the decoy energy zones. False signals drew the shadow away from the cities. Soldiers held the energy shields at critical points, while engineers monitored the anomaly's reactions. The shadow moved cautiously as if testing the kingdom's defenses. Hours passed in tense silence. Then the shadow changed direction, responding to the decoys. It was confused, misled by their strategy. Alara allowed herself a small sigh of relief. "It is working," she said. "The people of Leora are safe for now," Kyle smiled. "Your leadership, your courage, your people's unity. This is why humanity and Leora can face anything. The shadow cannot understand bravery, only energy. That is our advantage." But the princess knew this was only the beginning. The shadow had tested them tonight, but it would return, stronger and more determined, and they would have to be ready. That night, Alara stood alone in the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected off the crystal trees, casting light on her face. She thought of her dreams of Kale and of the people she loved. "I will protect this kingdom," she whispered. "No matter what comes, I will not let fear rule me. I will face the shadow with courage and wisdom." And somewhere in the distance, Kale watched the sky as well, knowing the true test had only just begun. Together, they prepared for the battles ahead. Battles not only against the shadow, but against doubt, fear, and betrayal. And they would need every ounce of bravery, every spark of hope, and every strategy they could muster to survive the trials to come. The shadow had come once, but it would not break them, not while courage, unity, and humanity stood against it. The kingdom of Leora breathed cautiously. For days, the shadow had circled the borders of the kingdom, testing defenses, probing energy shields, and moving unpredictably. Princess Alara spent each waking moment in the command chamber, studying star charts, analyzing energy readings, and coordinating with Kale and the advisors. "Your Highness," Kale said one morning, pointing to a holographic display, "the shadow is adjusting its course. It is learning from our defenses. We cannot rely on decoys alone. Soon it will strike where it sees the greatest energy source." Alara's jaw tightened. She had expected this. The anomaly was intelligent in a way, responding to power and strategy. And they had only begun to understand it. She turned to Brayson and Malin. "We must be ready to respond instantly. Every city, every energy shield, every soldier must be prepared to act at a moment's notice." Brayson nodded. "We have fortified the northern provinces, but the south is still vulnerable. We need to move quickly. Alara made a decision. We will split our forces. Kale take a team to the south to reinforce defenses. I will remain here and coordinate the rest. We cannot let the shadow divide our kingdom, Kale hesitated. Your Highness, I do not want to leave you in the command center alone. Alara smiled faintly. I am not alone. You have trained the soldiers and the engineers well. Trust them. Trust the people of Leora. And trust me. With that, Kale assembled a team and left for the southern provinces, leaving Alara in the palace with her council and the remaining defenders. Hours passed. The twin suns rose high in the sky and the shadow moved closer. Its dark form twisted among the stars, silent and massive. Citizens watched nervously from safe zones, their hope resting in energy shields and the strategies of the princess and Kale. Then the first strike came. The shadow unleashed a pulse of energy aimed at the northern provinces. Energy shields flared to life, glowing bright against the dark force. Soldiers worked in unison, reinforcing the shields while engineers monitored fluctuations. The pulse struck but did not break through. The decoys had misled it partially, and the kingdom survived. Alara exhaled in relief but knew this was only the beginning. It will return, she whispered to herself, and next time it will be stronger. Reports from Kyle's team arrived. The South had also faced a strike, and though the defenses held, it had come dangerously close to critical energy centers. Kale's voice came over the comm. Princess, the shadow is clever. It is testing both north and south simultaneously. We need to adapt our strategy, focus energy where it expects weakness and redirect power from non-critical zones. Speed and precision are our only advantages. Alara nodded, her mind racing. Do it, prepare the decoy zones again. Coordinate with both teams. We will not fail. As the day turned to evening, the shadow struck again. This time it targeted the central plains where major energy hubs and cities lay. Soldiers and engineers worked frantically, adjusting shields and energy flow as the anomaly's pulse swept across the land. Alara stood at the command center balcony, overlooking the chaos. She could see flashes of light from the shields and the distant glow of towns protected by her team's quick thinking. The people of Leora remained calm and determined, trusting her leadership. Your Highness, Malin said quietly, look at the people. Even in the face of the shadow, they move with courage. They trust you, and that trust is stronger than any weapon. Alara smiled faintly. It is not just me. It is all of us. The people, Kale, the soldiers, the engineers. We are stronger together. Meanwhile, Kale's team faced a new challenge. The southern energy grids were under heavy strain. Soldiers worked tirelessly, but the anomaly's pulses adapted quickly, exploiting even the smallest fluctuations. Kale moved among them, offering guidance, encouragement, and technical adjustments. Keep calm, he said. The shadow can sense fear and uncertainty. Act with precision. Trust your training and your instincts. Soldiers nodded, inspired by Kale's confidence. Even those unfamiliar with human techniques found courage in his leadership. In that moment, the HFY principle became clear. Humans could face impossible odds, adapt and inspire others to rise above fear. Back at the palace, Alara received troubling news. A scout reported movement near the palace itself, a small but fast cluster of energy spikes. Someone had triggered a disturbance, possibly attempting sabotage. Her heart sank. Betrayal was closer than she thought. Send a team immediately, she ordered. Find who is responsible and secure the palace. We cannot afford to be vulnerable inside our walls. Lyra ran to gather a squad. Minutes later, they apprehended a technician attempting to tamper with the energy conduits. The man confessed quickly. I thought the human would mislead you, he stammered. I did not believe the warnings. I wanted to protect my status. Ilara's eyes hardened. Your fear endangered everyone. You will be held accountable, but now help us correct what you did. Every second counts. The palace team worked swiftly, restoring energy flow and reinforcing shields. By nightfall, the palace was secure again, and Alara felt a renewed sense of determination. The shadow could test them, but courage, unity, and quick action would be their strength. The shadow itself had not relented. Its massive form loomed closer, pulsating with dark energy. Each strike tested the kingdom's defenses, but Alara and her people adapted. Engineers rerouted power, soldiers reinforced shields, and civilians moved calmly to safe zones. Every action was coordinated, every response precise. Alara watched the anomaly's movements carefully. It is learning, she said. It reacts to our energy patterns. We must stay unpredictable, Kale agreed. Yes, humans are adaptable. We can change faster than it can anticipate. We will outsmart it, but only if we remain focused and brave. Late at night, after the shadow had withdrawn temporarily to regroup, Ilara walked through the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected softly on the crystal trees. Kale joined her. You have led with courage, he said quietly. Even when betrayal and fear surrounded you, you acted decisively. That is why your people trust you and why the kingdom still stands. Ilara nodded. I could not have done it without you, Kale. Your guidance, your knowledge, it saved lives today. Kale smiled faintly. It is not just me. It is your people. Humans can bring ideas and courage, but leadership like yours inspires everyone to rise above fear. That is why hope survives. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The shadow's pulse in the distance was faint now, but Ilara knew it would return stronger. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and the kingdom would face the next strike. But she was ready. Ilara returned to the command center. She reviewed the plans for the next day, coordinating every detail, anticipating every possible movement of the shadow. Her people followed her example, working tirelessly and with determination. As the twin moons rose higher, casting silver light across the palace, Ilara allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. Dreams had warned her, humans had guided her, and the people had acted with courage. She understood now that survival depended not only on strength or technology, but on trust, leadership, and bravery. The shadow would strike again. That was certain, but Leora would meet it head-on, united and strong. And as the night deepened, Kale and Ilara looked out across the galaxy. Somewhere among the stars, the shadow waited, but they were ready. Together, humans and the people of Leora would face the darkness. Together, they would fight. And together they would show that courage, unity, and hope could shine even in the darkest shadows of space. The twin moons of Leora shone over the kingdom, casting silver light on the crystal mountains and the palace towers. The shadow had returned, larger and more threatening than ever. Its massive form stretched across the stars, pulsing with dark energy, moving toward the heart of the kingdom. Princess Ilara stood at the balcony of the command center, watching the approaching threat. Beside her, Kale monitored energy readings, his face calm but focused. This is it, he said. The shadow will strike soon. All our preparations will be tested at once. Ilara's heart raced, but her determination burned stronger. We have come this far. Our people are ready. We must lead with courage and act decisively. The palace gates were sealed, civilians moved to safe zones, and soldiers took positions at every energy shield and defensive post. Engineers recalibrated sensors and decoys, while advisors coordinated with distant provinces. Every detail had been planned, but the true test lay ahead. Kale approached Ilara. Remember, Princess, the shadow cannot understand bravery, loyalty, or unity. Those are our greatest weapons. Humans and your people together can face anything. Ilara nodded. Then we will fight, not just with shields or energy, but with courage. The shadow descended swiftly, striking the northern provinces first. Energy shields flared and absorbed the first pulses, but the anomaly adjusted quickly, seeking weaker points. Soldiers and engineers worked frantically, redirecting power and reinforcing defenses. Ilara monitored the battle from the command center, giving orders with calm precision. Shift energy from the outer decoys to the northern shields. Reinforce the south immediately. Kale moved among the soldiers, guiding them in real time. Steady, do not let fear control you. Focus on your training and instincts. The shadow struck again, this time at the southern provinces where Kale's team was stationed. Flashes of light lit the night sky as energy shields held against the massive force. Civilians huddled in protected zones, watching in awe and fear as the battle unfolded. Ilara's mind raced. The shadow was intelligent, reacting to their actions, learning from patterns and adjusting its attacks. They needed a bold strategy, something the anomaly could not anticipate. Kale, she called over the comm. We need a coordinated strike, one that will confuse it completely. Can your devices create a massive decoy field? Yes, Kale replied, but it will require every energy node and careful timing. We must act as one. Ilara gave the orders. Soldiers and engineers worked in perfect unison, redirecting energy across the kingdom. Massive decoy fields ignited in sequence, emitting pulses that mimicked the kingdom's true energy sources. The shadow paused, its massive form twisting in confusion. For the first time, it hesitated. Alara felt a surge of hope. "Now," she shouted. "Focus all energy at the decoy nodes and maintain the shields around the cities." The anomaly struck, drawn to the decoys. Its dark pulses crashed against false targets, harmlessly dissipating. At the same time, true energy shields around cities and vital areas held firm. Soldiers, engineers, and civilians worked tirelessly, inspired by the princess's calm authority and Kale's guidance. The shadow pulsed angrily, attempting to adjust. But it could not anticipate the unity, courage, and human ingenuity it faced. It had never encountered a people acting together with such precision and bravery. Alara watched as the anomaly recoiled. "It's working," she whispered. "We're controlling its movements." Kale nodded, eyes scanning the readings. "Keep it focused on the decoys. We need to weaken it further before it regroups." Suddenly, a massive surge struck the palace itself. Energy shields flashed, absorbing the pulse, but Alara knew they had only seconds to respond. Soldiers ran to adjust the shields. Engineers worked furiously to stabilize energy conduits, and Kale directed their every move. Alara stood tall at the balcony, raising her hand. "Hold your positions! Protect the kingdom. Courage will guide us." Her voice carried over the chaos, inspiring everyone who heard it. Civilians moved without fear, soldiers adjusted without hesitation, and engineers worked tirelessly to stabilize every system. The kingdom was alive with determination, each person a part of the unified effort. The shadow pulsed again, stronger and more deliberate, striking the northern decoy field. Energy nodes flared, sending bright light across the night sky. But the shield held. The decoy succeeded, misleading the anomaly and keeping the true energy centers safe. Kyle's voice came over the comm. "Now, Princess, focus every available energy source at the central nexus." "This is our chance to push it back!" Alara gave the order. Power from every province, every shield, and every decoy was channeled toward the central nexus, forming a massive pulse aimed at the heart of the shadow. It was a risk. Overloading the energy nodes could backfire, but it was their only chance. The pulse erupted, sending a wave of light and energy across the shadow. It twisted, shrank, and recoiled. The anomaly struggled against the combined power of the kingdom and human ingenuity. Alara felt her heart pound. "Hold steady. Do not give up." Soldiers shouted, engineers called out adjustments, and civilians watched from safe zones, united in hope and courage. Together they formed an unbreakable chain of determination. Finally, with a massive final pulse, the shadow dissipated. Its dark form faded from the skies, leaving behind only the stars. Silence fell across the kingdom. Alara exhaled, tears of relief in her eyes. "It's gone," she whispered. Kyle approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Not gone forever," he said. "But it has been defeated for now. Courage, unity, and hope are more powerful than any shadow. You have proven that today." The council entered the command center, eyes wide with awe. Brayson bowed deeply. "Your Highness, your leadership saved us. The kingdom stands because of you." Alara shook her head. "No, everyone fought with courage. We did this together. Humans, the people of Leora, soldiers, engineers, civilians. Everyone played a part," Malin nodded. "And your dreams guided us, Princess. They warned us, prepared us, and gave us the strength to act. Wisdom and courage together saved the kingdom." As dawn broke, the citizens of Leora emerged from their safe zones. They cheered for the princess, for the soldiers, and for Kale. The kingdom had faced the darkness and survived, not through power alone, but through bravery, unity, and trust. Alara walked through the streets, smiling at her people. Children waved, soldiers nodded, and engineers shared proud glances. She felt the weight of responsibility lift slightly, replaced by a deep sense of gratitude. Later, in the palace gardens, Kale and Alara stood together under the twin moons. The first light of morning reflected on the crystal trees, sparkling like tiny stars. "You were right," Alara said softly. "Courage, unity, and hope made the difference. Not technology alone. Not strategy alone. People working together can face anything." Kale smiled. "Humans have always believed that, and now your people have proven it as well. This is HFY in its truest form. Bravery, wisdom, and determination shaping the future." Alara looked up at the stars, thinking of the shadow and the warning from her dreams. "It may return one day," she said, "but I know we will be ready. Together we can face whatever comes." Kale nodded. And when it does, you will lead your people with courage, and humans will stand with you. The princess took a deep breath, feeling the wind in her hair, the warmth of her people, and the light of the twin moons. The kingdom of Leora had survived the shadow stronger and united. And the lessons learned, trust, bravery, and the power of unity, would guide them into the future. Ilara smiled. She had dreamed of the warning, faced the shadow and seen it come true. But more importantly, she had acted with courage and wisdom. She had led her people, trusted humans, and shown that even in the darkest times, hope and bravery could shine brighter than any shadow. And so, as the twin suns rose over the crystal mountains, Princess Ilara, Kyle, and the people of Leora looked to the stars with hope. The shadow had been defeated, courage had prevailed, and the kingdom was ready for whatever the future might hold. The warning had come true. The shadow had arrived, and yet humanity, wisdom, and courage had triumphed.